Hey everyone, and welcome to Chapter 8 of my Breath of the Wild any % no AMIIBO tutorial series, and the probably longest and most complicated video, where we take a look at the castle split, which starts after obtaining the paraglider and ends when we enter Sanctum to start the boss rush. This segment has very many small things to learn and will take you a long time to master, but with enough practice it will become very natural to run through. Additionally, this segment has the most RNG in the run, specifically when we are trying to complete it without AMIIBOs. So get ready and let's do this. As mentioned in Chapter 7, our plan after obtaining the paraglider is to BTB all the way to Hyrule Castle using the bokoblin at the bottom of the Temple of Time. This BTB is arguably the hardest single trick in the run, and even the best in the world still miss it a lot since it's so timing dependent. But as long as you get it in your first around 5 attempts or so, you are basically saving time with it. This time I will play a full clip of the setup for this BTB first and then break it down. Once again, there is different setups out there that you can learn that all share similar parts, and for all of them, the hardest part is activating bullet time in the right window. I will teach you guys mine, but make sure to check out other any % speedrunners too to see if you like another setup more. Before even setting Link's position for the BTB, make sure to whistle right after the old man disappears. This is to keep the bokoblin in the right spot before he notices your arrow later. After your whistle, the bokoblin's question mark should be in this position. If this is not the case, the bokoblin probably noticed you somehow during the paraglider segment, maybe because you missed a tree lounge or whistled on the roof. If this is the case, you cannot BTB correctly and have to reload. You should automatically have an autosave right after obtaining the glider. After you whistled, you need to position Link immediately. I walk up right against the bottom of the broken window here and make sure Link is as close to it as possible. There are some black lines on the bottom of the wall here. I make sure that this black line is basically right in the middle between Link's feet to make sure I'm in the right spot. Now it's time to alert the bokoblin with an arrow shot. I shoot right at the corner of this specific tile. Make sure to take your time when aiming, but don't wait too long cause the bokoblin could start moving away. As soon as you shoot the arrow, we need to perform the setup so Link is in the right spot to shield jump. Right after I shoot the arrow, I perform a single X swing with a Y press, followed by a backflip, which I then cancel with an X swing, similar to the inputs for the Magnesis clip. Afterwards, I keep swinging my X until the question mark over the bokoblin stops moving and then perform the forward shield jump. The inputs here after I shoot, once again, are Y, roll thumb from X to Y while holding backwards, Y, Y, and then a normal forward shield jump input right as the question mark stops moving. Now for the hardest part, the activation of bullet time. Once you shield jump, you will be in free fall for a while, and then need to time the bullet time activation just before you hit the bokoblin's shoulder. You only really have a couple of frames to do this, since if you pull the bow too late, you will simply miss the BTB and die, and if you pull the bow too early, you will either get a too high angle and lose too much stamina to make it all the way to the castle, or simply just don't even hit the bokoblin. I only have so much advice here for you guys other than practicing this countless of times. I have easily done this over 500 times for this BTB, and I practice it every single day before I start runs. One tip that may help you guys is turning your camera to the left while in free fall to better gauge Link's distance to the bokoblin before he hits him. I personally have an easier time with a neutral camera, but I know this has helped several runners. Other than that, all this BTB is tons of practice, but it will be very worth. Cause once you get this BTB, you can paraglide all the way to Hyrule Castle. So once you get the perfect bullet time activation, we still need to leave bullet time once we hit the bokoblin. I personally do this with a Y press, but when you start out it may help you to pause buffer until you see Link hitting the bokoblin and then unequip your bow. This way you lose less stamina and have an easier time reaching the castle. You don't want to lose more than a quarter of your stamina here to make it all the way to the spot in Hyrule we want to land on. Before we cover the movement mid-air, let's talk about a couple of common errors. If you just hit the floor after hitting the bokoblin and die, you pulled the bow too late. If you go in the right direction but are a little too high and lost more stamina than a quarter, you either pulled the bow too early or left bullet time too late. If you pull the bow in the right time and have a perfect amount of stamina but fly way too high, you most likely misaimed your arrow shot. If you finally got all the pieces together and got the perfect BTB, it is now time to maneuver towards Hyrule Castle. After you got sent flying from the BTB, you can mash the glider button and it will open after a while, around as Link is past the Great Plateau. For the most part, we want to just hold forward towards the castle, but keep in mind on Hyrule Field there's actually a small breeze slightly moving Link to the left. This rock on Hyrule Field is a good visual cue to see if you're on the right track. You should pass it by the left side. As you come up on the outer walls of Hyrule, now is a good time to correct your angle, if necessary. You want to land just to the right of this big pillar here, so make small stick and camera movements if necessary. If you notice that your stamina is close to empty and you have enough height, you can close your glider for a bit and Link will keep his momentum but lose a bit of his height. Pumping your glider like this can be crucial if you are low on stamina. Now, once you are over this area, you can mash B so Link closes the glider and then dismount his shield. If you're still high up, make sure to open the glider briefly before you hit the ground so you don't take fall damage. If you land here, you are relatively safe. Make sure to enter this building through the window as fast as possible though, so you don't get lasered by any of the guardians in this area. Making it here consistently is something you should practice a ton. But before we move on through the castle, I will teach you a very helpful backup for missing the optimal BTB, which the community likes to call the SLABBER. If you have a decent angle after the BTB from Temple of Time but not enough stamina to make it all the way to the castle, or are too far left or right, we can land in the courtyard to then stasis launch with a slab to the spot we were supposed to land on. After some time of practicing, you will know when you don't have enough stamina to make it all the way to the castle. If you noticed that is the case, land over the courtyard here by this little water puddle. Make sure to land close to it, since other landing spots might attract the guardians to follow you, making it super annoying to perform this backup trick. After a while, a big stone slab with a chest will load in. Sometimes the slab will load in first and the chest still takes time to load in. Make sure to and re-equip your shield in that case for a bit to force the game into loading it, since we need this chest as a visual cue for the trick. Crouch below the slab and just to the right of the chest until you can't move any further. Drop a square bomb in place by just pressing the L button and move away from the slab. Now switch to stasis, use it on the slab and hit it with a spin attack using your X, getting double hits to charge it to red as fast as possible. Now climb on top of the slab and switch back to the square bomb, blowing it up to set the right angle for the slab to get launched in. Position at the very edge of the slab, facing like this before the stasis timer runs out, and wait until you go flying. Now you want to ride the slab standing on it until the slab is tilted enough so it hits you when jumping. Once the slab is in this position, jump and the slab will hit you, launching you towards our landing spot. Opening the glider as soon as you can glide all the way to the right spot. Keep in mind that this launch will deal 2 hearts of damage to you, so only do this if you have enough health. Here's the full backup strat in full speed. If you go for this backup, the castle will be loaded, so the castle cutscene will play as soon as you land on the ground. Be careful that this is not happening as a guardian is targeting you, as this can lead to lots of trouble. If at any point you hit the cutscene trigger of Castle while a guardian is targeting you, already move to dodge the laser as the cutscene ends, since the gameplay will continue during the fade-in. Optimally, you want to also make it just to the entrance of this structure and you will be caught up with the optimal BTB. In the best case, this backup only loses around 25 seconds because you don't have to waste time waiting for the castle to load. Missing the BTB loses 30 to 35 every time, depending on if you die or not. So learning this SLABBER backup can be a very nice help. In this castle structure, you will find 2 crates. The one on the right here is the main reason we even come to this place. If you got here using the BTB, chances are the crates haven't loaded in yet. Once again, using un and re-equipping your shield should force the game into loading them in. If you get here before the castle cutscene has played, you should open the left one first. This crate contains a random amount of arrows of random types, which will be our main damage source for the Ganon fight later. The more you get, the better. Bomb arrows being the most damaging ones, so you really want those. The crate can contain everything from 2 normal arrows to even 30 arrows of all kinds, but on average I would expect 7 to 10 arrows here. Once again, this other crate is the crucial one. It contains random fruit and we need to get a banana from it. The mighty banana is our second ingredient for our level 3 attack up potion, and we already collected the beetle for it. Since your run will essentially die here if you don't get a banana, you should definitely save before opening it. Make sure to wait until the castle cutscene has played before saving, or you'll have to sit through it on every reload. Once you saved, destroy the crate and pray for a banana. If you get one, perfect. If not, you're gonna have to reload until you get lucky and a banana drops. If you get multiple bananas, pick them up. The most optimal amount is 3. 4 are possible, but don't save any time. The drop chance is between 50 and 60%. Once you obtain your banana, we are gonna make our way to the castle interior and first the dining hall. Climb up the wall here, since this is faster than climbing the ladder. Then walk over the walls, skipping the corner here with a quick glide across the gap. As you come up to the tall stone wall, you want to be on full stamina, so make sure to manage it using whistle sprinting. 3 climb hops will get you up the stone wall with a tiny bit of stamina left, but make sure to not use whistle sprinting here and instead use throw sprinting, as we do not want to alarm the moblins inside the dining hall here. There is a chance that depending on when you get here, you could encounter a flying guardian on the balcony of the dining hall. If he catches you while you are out of stamina or while climbing the wall, you can save the game if you want to at least save your banana, because he will one-shot you if his laser hits you. Try your best at dodging it and make it to the entrance of the dining hall. Just before entering the dining hall, switch to your Magnesis rune to grab the royal bow hidden on the chandelier. There's a chance that it is not loaded yet. If that's the case, once again use the D-pad strat to load it in. Grab it using Magnesis and throw it down to the right so we can pick it up on our way. During our movement through the dining hall, make absolutely sure to not whistle sprint, as that will attract the moblins and really ruin our plans. After collecting the royal bow, move towards the banana and grab it. This is our second mighty banana on the floor here. This can be skipped if you somehow got 3 bananas from the first crate. Now move between the 2 tables and grab the Molduga fin on the edge of the right table here, while potentially dodging the 2 moblins that might attack you. There is a few different positions these moblins can be in depending if they hurt you outside of the dining hall, and I will show you a couple of patterns here and how to move accordingly. The moblin with the club will one-shot you, so be especially careful around him, while the moblin with the spear leaves you alive with half a heart. Make sure to practice this part quite a bit to familiarize yourself with the moblin's movement patterns. Once you pass them and grab the Molduga fin, make your way to the chimney to grab the Royal Guard's spear here. Using magnesis on the bigger tip makes it easier to grab it. Once you control it with magnesis, press D-pad down to pull it towards you and then collect it. After the spear is obtained, we want to briefly leave the dining hall to de-aggro the moblins. Optimally, you want the moblins to catch up to you here, so they wind up attacking you. You can use this window to leave the dining hall sprinting and throw sprinting through this door and then moving towards the right wall here, which should de-aggro them. You can turn around to make sure they are not following you before you re-enter the dining hall, as they would completely mess you up in the next segment. When re-entering the dining hall, you will get an autosave, which can be helpful if you mess up from here. But after the section, until the library later, you won't get any autosave, so make sure to manually save your progress in case you feel uncertain until that library spot is reached. As you re-enter the dining hall, this time we want to make our way to the cooking pot on the right without the moblins noticing you. You can sprint until you reach this plank on the floor. If you sprint after this, the moblins will notice you. I sprint until the plank and then jump to carry my momentum. Mid-air, I switch to the square bomb rune, which we will need for this next strat, and then walk up to the razor shroom here, which will be our final attack potion ingredient. If you have 3 bananas at this point, you can skip collecting this mushroom and hence skipping the 2-second text box. After collecting the razor shroom, I switch to the crouching stance and make my way to this position using crouch hops. Make sure to mimic exactly this position or the next strat will fail. Pull out your bomb, not moving at all or the moblins will notice you, and throw it without changing your angle. Both moblins should get distracted by it and run up to it. Walk after them and then sneak strike only the left moblin with your axe so he falls to the ground. The right moblin should still be distracted by the bomb, kicking it around the dining hall. While the moblin is on the ground from the sneak strike, pull your bow and light an arrow on the fireplace on the right, which you then shoot to light up the cooking pot. Now walk up close to the cooking pot so you can cook the potion. To do that, grab the beetle, 2 bananas, the razor shroom and the Molduga fin. If you have 3 bananas, at this point you can replace the razor shroom with a banana. Now leave the menu and make sure the cooking prompt shows up so you don't throw away your ingredients, and cook the level 3 attack up potion, skipping the cooking cutscene. Sometimes a prompt will show up that tells you that you cannot cook cause enemies are nearby. This happens either because a moblin is close or because you actually messed up. If the first is the case, you can actually do a camera manip so the moblins disappear from the screen so you can cook anyways. Just mash the A button while moving the camera until Link cooks the potion. After you obtain the potion, switch to the Royal Guard spear. The moblin we previously hit should now turn around to look for what actually hit him. Staying behind him and targeting him with ZL should allow you to sneak strike him again with the spear this time, which will make him fall down, but this time he will actually drop his weapon, the Stone Smasher, which we want to pick up before leaving the dining hall. If the moblin notices you here, just run away. We can pick up a backup Stone Smasher in the library later, which loses some time but is very safe. Both of these sneak strikes can be animation cancelled with a jump to save some time. Just jump right after Link confirms the hit. Here's a clean cooking section in full speed to show you how this optimally looks. After you are done here, run straight towards this door, exiting dining hall. As we leave it, blow up the square bomb that is still being kicked around because we need it soon again and need the cooldown to pass until that point. On our way to the hallway here, we can whistle sprint for a while until we reach the end of it. We want to blow up this rubble wall on the left here, since we will find the Royal Guard's sword, a very strong weapon, behind it. The fastest way of doing this is to run until this barrel on the left here, and then just jump and instantly drop a bomb behind you by pressing the L button. Move towards the very end of the hallway and then blow up the bomb, which will uncover the hidden room and hence allow you to enter and pick up the Royal Guard's sword. As soon as you obtain it, switch to the sword and leave the secret room to run back into the hallway, only using sprinting and throw sprinting again, because we need to whistle at a precise spot soon. Turn into the hallway on the right, which leads to our next spot, the Armory. Sprint and whistle sprint through it until you reach the entrance of the Armory. We now need to whistle just as Link enters this room to grab the attention of the moblin that is in this room. Just before the wooden fence, jump over it to make it behind the moblin, which will essentially be blind as it's still looking for Link's whistle, and sneak strike him with the Royal Guard's sword. This will one-shot him, so as he is collapsing, pick up the Royal Guard's bow from the stand here and then collect the Royal Claymore, which the moblin just dropped. This is how you do the section in full speed. If the moblin notices you when you drop down, you probably whistled in the wrong timing. Your best backup here would be shock arrowing him to pick up his weapon as he is stunned, or ice arrow and then sneak strike him when he unfreezes later. Both of these backups require you to get lucky from the arrow craze though, and lose time and arrows. In the worst case, you could still pick up a random weapon from the armory and then casually fight him. Just make sure to not use any of our strong weapons, as we will need their durability for the boss fights. In general, everything we do here with our weapons is gonna affect the boss rush later, so make sure to follow this tutorial exactly, but more on that in the next chapter. Now, after the moblin is defeated and we picked up our items, we wanna break this crate stack here to obtain a random amount of arrows. When you start out, I recommend you to save here, just to make sure you get a decent amount. To break these crates, you want to perform a jump attack and then a normal swing attack with your axe. I would say that you want to at least have 25 arrows overall when you start out, so if you don't reach that, you can always reload, or the Ganon fight will be quite a bit harder. Also, if you miss the sneak strike on the moblin in the armory here, you can open these crates first while he is alive to potentially get a shock arrow from this crate, disarming him that way. When you have a pleasant amount of arrows, move on through the door to enter the long hallway leading to the library, switching to the Stone Smasher or Royal Guard's sword if you don't have it yet here, as those will be needed for our next sneak strike later on inside of the library. The Lyssalphos on the left can be a pain, but usually you should be fine just running past him and then sprint and whistle sprint away, staying in the middle of the hallway. This is another reason that a save before arrows can help you as you start out, cause if he was to kill you otherwise, you'd spawn back in the dining hall before even cooking the potion, and sometimes the Lyssalphos just decides to stab you or spit on you, ending your run that way, and this hurts. At the end of this hallway, another Lyssalphos is waiting for you and he will shoot you with a bomb arrow, as soon as his question mark appears for the second time. To counteract this, headshot him with your bow as soon as the question mark shows up for the second time, and he will drop to the floor so you can run past him to the right. As you come up to the library entrance, make sure to use whistle sprinting to grab the attention of the Lyssalphos in the library, or they will otherwise attack you. The one on the left especially will start shooting shock arrows at you, which can and actually will one-shot you. Now that you enter the library, he will be busy looking for Link's whistle, so jump over the wooden fence and glide past the confused Lyssalphos. If he does still notice you, his question mark will turn into an orange exclamation mark and he will start firing. Try your best to dodge his shock arrows and pray to not get hit. At least if you do die here, there's always an autosave at the entrance of the library. As you glide past the Lyssalphos, you can already switch your rune to Magnesis mid-air, since we will need it moving forward. Land up here and throw sprint to refill your stamina as you make it past this pillar. On the ground, you should automatically grab this Lyssalphos' attention. As soon as you see that, switch to normal sprinting and run down this ledge, which should make you fall right behind him. Since this Lysalphos is still confused by your steps at the top, you can target and then sneak strike him, being careful to not step too loudly. This will kill him and allow us to pick up his weapon, the Lysal Tri-Boomerang. If you do get noticed by him, you can once again hope to have shock and ice arrows to obtain his weapon. He does have a shield though, so you have to shoot precisely. Otherwise you can fight him with your Stone Smasher to pick up the backup one afterwards. This is how this section should look like optimally in full speed. Now if you have all weapons, you can make it towards this box to prepare for the box launch towards the Sanctum and the boss rush. If you still need the Stone Smasher though, you can remove this metal bookshelf with magnesis and then make it past it to collect the backup Stone Smasher from this secret mining room. After you picked it up, return to the library to set up the box launch. Two ways to perform this box launch exist, which I will both cover in this tutorial, starting with the easier version first, jumping from the box. When starting out first, saving at this spot can be a good idea, since this one is one of the trickiest sections in the castle. The setup for both versions is the same though, so let's start here. Switch to your X and grab this box with magnesis. There's another metal box behind you and another one past this other bookshelf here in case you miss. Place the box in a way that the left corner of it is in the center of this specific white tile on the floor here. Now switch to stasis and use it on the box and immediately start hitting it with a back-facing spin attack using your X so you can get double hits in. Once the crate is charged up to red, crouch down and shoot the crate with an arrow so that the stasis angle points up like this. Make sure to move as close to the crate as possible while crouching to make this angle happen. Press B to cancel the aiming stance and link crouching, and then make him stand on top of the box, facing this way. Make sure to stand on this side of the crate, since you otherwise won't go through the opening. Now in the easy version, you wait until the stasis timer ends and then time a jump just after the crate goes flying. This should launch you up very high and then allow you to glide towards the wall, which you can then grab on and climb up until you reach Sanctum. This is very consistent if you time your jump correctly, but a little slow, cause Link is not allowed to open the glider until he reaches the peak of the launch and then has to cover a lot of distance. When you start out, I highly recommend this method. In the harder version, you actually don't jump at all, but just stand on the box until Link gets catapulted off of it and then simply open the paraglider as the box breaks, so Link carries that upwards momentum. This is faster cause you will be closer to the wall and sometimes even have enough height so you can skip climbing the wall entirely, but I personally have encountered issues many times where I don't get enough height at all and have to set up the launch again. Try them out yourself and see which version you like better. Here are both box launch versions in full speed in a comparison. If you fail the launch in any way, it's faster to grab a second box and try again if you still have enough X durability to fully charge it. If not, you're gonna have to reload your save file. There's many different ways in which you can fail this launch. Make sure to follow the instructions here and care for everything like box positioning, Link's position and even the arrow angle. If you do encounter mistakes and think you do everything correctly, you can ask in the comments here, or even better, join the Breath of the Wild speedrunning Discord and post a clip of your failed attempt there. The link to it is in the video description. If you manage to pull this launch off, the castle split is almost done. All we need to do up here by the Sanctum is switch to the Royal Guard's sword and the Royal Guard's bow to prepare for the boss rush and then enter the arena. Producing this video was a monstrous amount of work, and I know it's so much to learn, and the castle is such a punishing segment, but we are really close now. One more push now, as we are taking on the Blights and then Ganon himself, and you will be able to run the entire game, and trust me, it will feel amazing to go through this run and beat Ganon in less than an hour. In the next video I will explain the entire Blights fight in all the single phases, so stay tuned, subscribe, and maybe say hi in my live stream, where I stream runs every day. The link is in the description. Good luck in practice, and see you in the next one.